Hey guys, welcome back to the Sorry That's Confidential podcast.
Welcome back.
Here with that guy from last week, Jake. We got old news and new news today.
I was hoping for no news. It's always the best news.
How was your week?
It was stressful,
Yeah,
but I'm excited for this episode.
me too.
I've actually been looking forward to it all week because I know we said we were going to record every week, but this week we have somebody special with us.
We do. So we have a guest. We met her working at a hospital together in HR. We actually did her virtual interview together.
I was going to
in your
ask,
office.
did we do it together?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yep, we did it in your office at the time. And her role that she was getting hired into was my current role at the time because I was being promoted. So I picked her. And our next guest, she has about 4 years in the HR field, just around medical and retail. And she also has about 5 years of managerial experience. So she's pretty on top of her game. Welcome, Cara.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
She's so polite.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to the show, Cara. We talked about you in our last episode, how much we enjoyed working with you.
Was it weird to hear us talking about you?
A little bit.
yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I don't think that, much of myself. So to hear you guys appreciate what I brought to the team was nice to hear.
Aw, we value you.
Thanks.
I kind of did some digging and just some wild things that happened when we brought you on. So literally the Friday before you started, I rearranged the office and I made Jake and our current director at the time help me move all of the furniture. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because I had to move out of my office so you could take my office.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to move that desk,
Yeah.
which the desk was too big for the space and it was terrible.
Yeah.
I think we had power tools in there
We did.
and then still didn't work. It's also super heavy.
But it looked really great after. I think it did.
Oh, yeah, I think it did look better than how I had it set up.
His back was to the door and he was looking into the corner.
Which you should never do in HR.
Well, when I got there, I said, "This is a big desk. I'm not moving it."
Leave it to the woman.
And then I moved it.
But yeah, no, literally, I remember preparing for you to come in and I was like so excited. Also nervous too, because I mean, it's just nervous having somebody new on the team. You're not going to know if they're going to be like amazing or just the worst.
She really just couldn't wait to dump all her stuff on you. Mm-hmm. She's like, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Ironically, I am the one who drafted your offer letter, but at the same time, I was also doing my offer letter to move into my position. So that just kind of really talks about the environment we were in over there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny because I was the recruiter. Either myself or our boss should have wrote that offer letter, but he just told you to write it.
But yeah, so welcome.
Thank you.
My question is,
First off, how dare you?
How dare I what?
exactly. No, when I got your message, you were like, let me pull it up.
Uh-oh.
You said, "For questions of your choice," and it's literally attached to Cara's resume.
Oh, I did. I texted it to him.
I wasn't sure if this was a job interview or what was going on, but it's helpful because I forgot some of the places you worked, and I was like, ooh, I could come up with some great questions for these things. But no, I think we want to start with you introducing yourself a little bit more.
The course of my life or just...
Yeah. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was actually really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm out in the sticks. And did the normal go to school, get a job, and then got married.
Did you always want to be in HR?
No, I did not want to be in HR. That just kind of something that happened. I started in my career in retail, which I spent 25 years in. And throughout the course of that career, you, of course, jump through all these different hoops to move to different departments or move to different, sections of the store. And I happened to befriend the HR that was there, and the company I worked for was morphing into a different type of corporation, and the HR was getting an assistant. And so I took on that role, and they needed somebody to also write schedules for the entire employees, that
How many employees was that?
132.
And this was like your first intro.
Yes, into
Nice.
HR.
I'm
And
sensing a theme.
Thrown
And
into the
so-
fire.
part of being the schedule writer and the HR's assistant was you wrote the schedules for everybody in the store. You also taught all of the orientations, you did the onboardings, and all of that. You were basically the second face to HR. And then once the HR person retired is when I took over her role and went from there, all the while going to school at night to get my degree in paralegalism.
That's really cool. So wait, how long were you in that role before she retired?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
And then she retired and I took over her role and was the HR for about 4 years.
Dang. That's crazy.
That's wild. I've only done HR in healthcare settings, but I feel like retail, I want to try it. I want to dip my feet in that water because it's such a different, I guess, a different world, because you don't have people with licenses that you have to deal with. You don't have like all these different things. Like, it's just a different perspective, I guess.
It is. It's entirely a different beast because you're dealing with employees that are anywhere from 18 to 60, which you still are when you're looking at the medical field, but your attrition rate is by far greater in a retail environment than it is in a hospital or a professional environment like that. So you're constantly hiring. Just because, in retail, they don't necessarily give you the respect of the 2 weeks. They just dip or they just don't even show up. You know what I mean? So you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, now there's this 4-hour block in this department that either you have to go cover or you have to bring somebody in and offer them overtime or, offer them something else. And in a retail environment, you are the face of HR. You can't pawn something off onto someone else because you're the only person that you could potentially have the answer to their question.
That's crazy. So why did you choose to leave that and come work in a hospital?
Well, after 25 years, I had hung up my HR hat at the time and I had taken on a managerial role, and I was a manager for 3 years, and the company was just going a different direction, and I had gotten to the point to where I couldn't handle, or risk my mental health any longer.
Been there.
So I was like, you know what, I got to find something else to do. And with my HR background, when I saw the posting for the hospital, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try, and at that time I was literally looking to take anything. I would have gone and worked at a different retail establishment just to get away from the managerial role that I currently had. And
Yeah.
when I got offered the position, I was super excited and couldn't wait to join the team,
I guess when you were applying, was there a second, obviously you picked us because, we worked there and everything, but was there a second option that you were really looking forward to and hoping to hear back from?
There was a interview that I had, and it was out at the site.
Yeah.
And I was getting ready for my second interview there.
Yeah.
And then got offered the position. And so
Dang.
I was like,
You turned down government?
I did.
Dang.
Yep.
Turned down them good benefits for the hospital benefits that were not good.
I never had them, but I think it was you. Jake used to say they were expensive.
The hospital ones, yeah, it was expensive for the worst things like medical care. So typically how it works in a hospital, if you have medical insurance through them, you can only go to their facilities. And how awkward is that? Like, I need to go see my primary care doctor, who is somebody who,
Oh yeah.
like, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing their pay, they're calling me or, messaging me about certain things, but it's like, I just had a checkup with you, my medical background, say you were going through like a mental health crisis, like that could easily get spread throughout the hospital. And I think there is laws against, HIPAA, like all that stuff, like spreading that information. But at the same time, like that is a concern because you're like, well, are these people going to say like, oh, Jake in HR, he, is anxious and it's crazy. Like,
I used to think about that when I would go upstairs for my appointments for my PCP, because like a lot of times like those are receptionists or MAs or somebody that like we hired,
Yeah.
and like saw us. And so you're like in a highly visible role to employees. And so, yeah, I remember like, don't look at my weight, girl. Like, don't tell them what it is, please.
yeah, but not only that, like,
But the doctor, I remember one time my doctor, like, she wasn't digging, she was just a really nice doctor, and she was like very caring, and but she would kind of like ask like, oh, how is it? Like, da da da. Like, and it's just like, it can quickly go from like you're there as a patient to like now you're like the employee representative a little bit.
that's what I was going to say. Is there those boundaries of like, hey, I'm your patient first and foremost, get blurred into like, well, now I'm your HR person. I'm not going to answer your questions about really anything right now because I'm just trying to be seen and I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my 2 cents on the benefits at the hospital.
Anyways, so you came in at a really weird time because there was a lot of shifting going on in the departments. We were working on an HR team for one hospital, but we had another sister hospital in town as well. And so we had like 2 different HR teams, but we all were on one team. And that was kind of hard. I think just because of the different processes and things that were successful at one place versus the other. And like just the training and like trying to understand that, it was like so difficult. I remember I made you like a little list of everybody's names, their titles, and which location they were at. But like, what do you think your training was like? Like, was I the worst trainer?
No, not at all. I think you were an exceptional trainer. I think that there was, I think the thing that scared me the most, to be honest with you, is maybe my first 3 days there, right? Every voicemail was going straight to you. Mm-hmm. And by like day 4, you're like, okay, Cara, we're going to start answering the phones. And I'm like, I don't want to answer the phone. I don't want to have to do that, right? But I, of course, got used to it. And one of the things that like scared me too coming in to that role is it's an entirely different environment.
Yeah.
Right. I just spent 25 years in retail, and to go into this quiet, office environment where it's just you and me and the temp that sat across the hall from us.
Oh my gosh.
Who was terrifying.
Was it the witch?
No.
Oh, sir.
It
That was with me and
Tom.
you.
Oh yeah.
That was his name,
Remember,
right?
our boss at the time lost his little fancy pen. And we had to buy him a new
Oh,
one off Amazon.
I forgot about Tom.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think so.
He was like an HR temp, like an HR generalist temp.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember him.
And I don't remember where he came from, but all I
I do.
remember is for like
corrections. He was in corrections before.
for like 2 weeks that guy wouldn't speak to me because he wanted the position. And this is me assuming that he wanted the position that I was given. And so he onboarded me, and then he would listen to like the conversations that I'd have with like the new people coming in, and he'd scowl at me from across the hallway. And I'm just kind of like looking at him like, what is wrong with you? And I would go home and I would talk to my husband about it. And I'd be like, this guy just does not like me.
Yeah.
And it was just weird because you don't expect that.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a retail environment where you know everyone and everybody's friendly and they come to your office to sit down and shoot the shit and you know what I mean? And to come on to a new position and you're training me and you're teaching me all these great things, and Brandy would swing by, she'd be like, don't forget to put your mask on, you know,
my
because
gosh,
this person's
the
here
mask.
today. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who are they? You know, and so it was just different, and it took a while to, you know, get comfortable with, oh, okay, I can do this every day and show up. And
Yeah. And at that time, you weren't like, we weren't friends. Like you had just started, and I was like, you're the new person. Like, I remember when I was the new person coming into their team, I remember I had a conversation with she wasn't the VP of HR at the time for our current company, but I had a conversation with her, and I was like, some of the things I've heard here, this is my first week. Did I make a mistake? Like, it's such a red flag, like everything I've been told. And I don't, like, I remember the conversation. She was like, I'll take care of it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no, she never took care of it. And then I think Ashley and I became friends, or a lot closer after my first week.
Now I'm starting to like remember these memories were suppressed probably from trauma, but you both came in at really weird times and transitions within the department as a whole, because Jake came on when the business partner / supervisor for one location was actually on his way out, but was just helping until they could get coverage, and he was coming in to train with you. And then, but he was never in the recruiting role. He was like in the supervisor area, and the recruiter before you had left like a month or two before that, if I remember correctly. So it was just a really weird time for you. And then I don't know if you guys remember too, but like there was kind of some drama going on in the department. Like,
How could I forget?
someone actually had it out for me and I had no idea. I don't know if you guys remember.
No,
this
I do
story.
remember because I found the files.
I found the files too, which, I mean, we shouldn't have access to things like that. Again, like last week we talked about access, right? And yeah, I had no idea that there was somebody on our team that was going to other members of our team at the time and asking them like their thoughts on me and how I was doing and if they thought I was doing a good job. And this person was not even my boss. They were like I don't know. It's not even a higher position. It's more like a lateral to mine. Would you guys agree?
yeah, that she
And-
was just a peer.
Yeah, and then someone on the team said something to our boss, Brandy, and then she started an investigation. And I didn't know any of this was going on. I was just in your role at the time, thinking I was just doing okay and hiring people. And when I found out was after the investigation, and I was told, and I was like, oh, dang. That's humbling that you never know people on your team, and their intentions, which is hurtful, but it's a reality check for sure.
That is true.
I was thinking about this. I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize that are being watched. And it's kind of funny that we were talking about it. It's like, my question was, what's something employees don't realize is being documented behind the scenes? And I think this is like one of those things is when HR gets audited or investigated internally. Like,
Yeah.
we don't know if anything's going on, but you are being watched and things are being documented. But also,
Yeah.
like, I think that people have a common misconception around like reviews and things like that. We couldn't see what you did on your reviews. I mean, there's times you can tell who wrote reviews, but I think that the biggest one is like when you're in HR and you're being investigated, you have no idea
No.
because everything is behind the scenes and it's very hush.
And
But
if
then it
you-
takes one person to find those files that you all have access to.
Yeah, that was wild. But you know what? I don't know about you guys, but I liked having access to those files because it's a nice reminder, because I feel like as humans we get comfortable, and it's hard for us sometimes to get out of that comfortability. And seeing things like that, like even with the audits last week, like we were talking about, like how much I love them, it's because it's accountability.
Right.
Right. And it's hard for us as humans sometimes to like self check and be like, okay, like, no, I'm comfortable. Like, let's ruffle the feathers a little bit, you know? But it's a nice humbling reminder that you may be super comfortable in your job and have never gotten a write up, but that doesn't make you immune, you know? And there's still a fairness that has to be maintained in that department, especially.
I agree.
Every investigation I've ever done, there's always two parties that you investigate: the one who submitted the complaint and then the person who the complaint is about. And from it sounds terrible because I went through every file. The notes that I was reading, there was never a conversation with you about those things.
That's true.
I think the person who was doing the investigation, I think, could see through that person. But at the same time, a conversation or like a complaint is a complaint.
Yeah.
And that's just, if somebody is complaining against you, you're going to take it hard because you're like, what am I doing wrong? But your boss sees Ashley's doing a great job. You know, I'm not going to investigate this anymore, but it still hurts when you find them because you're like, people were talking shit about me instead of coming to me. They're going behind my back and going straight to my boss.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Cara, what do you think is like the weirdest or like craziest memory you have from working there?
That pertains to HR or just in general?
just in general.
Just in general.
I want to hear this.
All right. This is probably the craziest thing that happened when I was there. So I'm in the office, minding my own business, working, and this lady comes in and she sits down across the desk from me, and she tells me that she needs to speak with somebody because she is faking a pregnancy and she's there to have a medical exam, and she doesn't want anybody in patient registration to call her husband and let him know that her pregnancy is fake because she is trying to keep him because he's busy cheating on her with another lady, and if she's pregnant, then he'll stay. And this whole time, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just the employment specialist. This isn't something that I can, take care of. Our HR business partner needs to come speak to this lady and talk to her about our EAP plans and try to get her all the help that she needs, right? So I asked her to stay in my office, sit there for a second. I don't remember if Ashley was on lunch or if she was just in her office and letting me deal with this crazy lady that had come into my office. So I run across the hall and I ask our HR business partner to come over and speak to this person.
Was she an employee or just a random
See,
person?
And that's not. I'm getting there. Give me a sec. So I go back over, right, and I start asking more open-ended questions like, where is it that you work here? What have you spoken to your manager? Blah, 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 blah. Asking all the questions you normally would of an employee. And she's like, oh, I don't work here. I'm just, somebody here that gets their medical care from here. And at this point in time, after I get that little tidbit of news, our HR business partner walks in and she's got, the EAP pamphlet and she's getting ready to talk to her. And I was like, hold up. We don't need that. This lady doesn't even work here. And of course, she's like, she doesn't work here. I'm like, oh no, she just some random person off the street in the HR office. And apparently my door was open and in she come. And I'm like, how can I help you?
You know what, Cara? I don't feel bad for you.
You should.
And let me explain why. So we worked on one side of the offices, I guess you could say, and then the other HR office team was down the hall. And Cara, remember, she was in retail. So Cara perfected the customer service voice that she has. And I would be in my office working, and people would come in, and Cara is literally like, "Hi, how can I help you? Yeah, totally. We can retake your 5th badge picture. Let's do it." And she'd be out there hooting and hollering and like just buttering these people up, and they would be laughing back. And like, I'm like, she's got this. Whatever, cool. And they would leave, and I would hear the door close, and she would come in my office. She'd be like, "Why didn't you save me?" And I would be, "Cara, you were having the time of your life out there, girl. Like, what?" And she's like, "You didn't hear her? Hear her what? Having a great time with you? No, I'm sorry." I was like, "We need a code word."
Bananas.
Do you guys remember that badge machine? We had to have
hated
Do
that
do
thing.
I remember the badge machine?
Oh.
Okay.
Jake was
That
the badge machine. What is it?
I don't
Guru?
even know how many times I try to fix that thing.
You fixed it every single time for us.
How many times? But they would they refused
4?
to buy a new one.
And by you saying that, it's not me and Cara buying it. The company.
The company.
Yeah.
I mean, they are expensive. Let me throw that out there. But
But for the amount of badges we were printing,
and you're a giant corporation, you've got the money. Like, I understand if you're a small business, but we were printing 20 badges a week or more.
Especially if students were onboarding.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
oh my gosh, the students.
so like the badge machine uses a ribbon that anyway. That stupid
Break it down.
ribbon would freaking break every time. It honestly, that machine was old and just a piece of shit.
And then when we got the new one, it wasn't that much better.
No.
Because the system, I remember, would always break too. Like where you would go and enter all their information, it would just randomly delete all the information.
Well, and people would get so mad at you too, right? They would be like, "Hey, I need a new badge. Can't you just use my old picture? I look so much better then." Yeah, because you were 20 years younger.
Yeah.
Of course you looked that much better. No, we don't have that picture saved anymore. You have to come down here and get a new photo taken.
Right.
Well, I'll do that next week when I look good. It's going to take you a week to look good?
Not only that, but I feel like people would get so pissed too because they would leave and then go try to use their badge because you could tap to get indoors or go to like the cafeteria and buy things.
yeah.
And they get so pissed because they're like, my badge doesn't work.
And we would tell them.
Yeah. You just gave me a faulty badge. It doesn't work. And it's like,
We just told you.
we have to, the process is we have to send this to security so they can give you the access to come in and out these doors. And also like, we have to change your badge number and everything. But people would be so pissed, even though you explain this to them like 5 or 6 times, they just think we're the ones breaking everything.
Yeah. Or you would give somebody that was from a clinic a new badge and then explain to them, well, maintenance only comes out there once a week. So it's possible that your badge isn't going to work for a week because they only go out there once a week to recode the door.
I remember that.
And so, this is your incentive to hold on to your badge.
Yeah,
It's your property.
I never felt bad for the ones that were in there a couple times.
You mean the ones that were in there like once a week?
Yeah.
No, that's one of my questions because you did onboarding, and I know the answer to mine for this question is what is one pattern or a pattern you've noticed early on with employees that usually tells you how things are going to play out for them. And my answer to this was when I would come down and do my orientations, I told them every time, I do not want to see your phones out. I need to have you pay attention to what I'm going to tell you because this is how you're going to get paid. this is how you know when you're going to get paid, yada, yada. I'd go through my whole presentation. And then the ones I always had people pull out their phones. And those are the ones who always came to me and said, there's something wrong with my pay. Okay, did you look at your pay stub? No, I don't know where to find it. Also, when do we get paid? And I was like, this is literally something I went over in my portion of orientation. But I feel like this was a good question for you because you saw, like you and Ashley both saw these new employees coming in. So you could see their first day stepping into the hospital, going through orientation. I guess, what are some of the things that you saw? You're like, man, you are not going to do well here.
There was a lot of things that would tip you off if somebody wasn't necessarily going to be the best fit, for the role that they were taking on. And when you offer someone the position, right, and you send them their onboarding offer letter and you tell them, I mean, it's in the offer letter, everything that they need to bring for your first meeting with them, so when they show up and they don't have, two of the four things you asked them to bring and basics like social security card and your ID, proof of your education, proof of your licensing, you know what I mean?
She almost said poo.
Did you say poo?
No, I
She
did
said
not say
poo.
If they didn't show up with these things, you're already that's a tip off. Or the people that would call and say, hey, I don't know where I'm supposed to be. Well, it clearly said in your onboarding invitation, which elevator to get in, which floor we were on, and so that those were good indications that they weren't going to make it. And if they were lucky enough to make it to orientation, if they didn't pay attention in orientation, or if they were late, or if they fell asleep, you knew they weren't going to make it for the long haul. You know what I mean? They're not looking at a 25-year career. They're looking at a 25-minute career and send them on their way.
Yeah. Gosh, I mean, one thing I used to say is like, Cara and I see the signs before they've started. Because in onboarding, you learn a lot about a new hire and you learn a lot about their priorities. I mean, even in the very, very beginning stages of like they've submitted their application and now the manager has interviewed and they want to extend an offer, like even in that phase, because it just blew my mind the amount of people that had like an attitude that you were just trying to schedule their appointment for onboarding.
Yeah.
And that, sorry, we're not open past 5. Just things like that. Or you tell them everything on the phone that they need to bring for onboarding. You send it in an email. You're CCing their manager. They show up for their onboarding and they have nothing that you had asked them verbally and documented to bring. I mean, there weren't very many, I will say that, but there were a couple where I just had to look at them and be like, I can't onboard you because I don't have any of your documentation and I need to reschedule you. And sometimes we had to push start dates, and that was even a mess at that time too, because I don't know if you guys remember I talked about the hate sandwich last week, but it was like that. We got the rude comments, the undermining from not just the managers and the supervisors, but from their employees too.
Yeah.
Even coming in to get a new badge, like these people were just so hostile sometimes. And, I understand we're in healthcare, and I understand, people who get strained, and I could never do a nurse's job. Absolutely not. And just the things that they have to deal with on a daily basis are super tough. I'm not undermining that at all, but there is a level of respect you show to each person that you come in contact with. And I was taught that, you're just kind to people until they give you a reason not to be.
Right.
I mean, do you remember when someone from the C-suite barged into our office and told us that we needed to have our door open?
Well, yes, I do.
No, I know. I was going to bring that up too. Because I
That was
remember
intense.
she would also get so pissed because let's say our office is opened at 8 o'clock, which they did. We were there from 8 to 5. If somebody was there at 7:30 and she walked by and that person was waiting outside the door, she would send the nastiest emails and be like, "This person was here. You guys weren't here on time." Blah blah blah, and she would just go on and on about how HR was so shitty, and it trickles down. It does. It trickles down from her, who is in C-suite, like top of the hospital leadership,
Yeah.
down to her department managers who also treated us like shit, down to the employees who, let me tell you, when you say you're a nurse and so you're better than everyone else, I'm sorry, no, you're not. There's a level of respect because we're all people, but yeah, she would get so pissed because your guys' door wasn't open. Ours never had to be open on the other side.
Yeah, because they wanted me and Kara to be the filter and get all of the walk-ins so that no one else was bothered by them.
The bad thing about always having our door open and being the walk-in people was even if you went next door and said, "Hey, this person's here to meet with you."
It was like, why? Well, what'd
Yeah.
you tell them? It's like you're hitting
Did
all
you
these
tell
barriers.
them I'm here? Well, you work here just like I do. Why do I have to be available 24/7, but you're allowed to be behind your closed door? I'm working on my job too.
Yeah.
I have sensitive material on the top of my desk as well.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be a, "Oh, it's okay for you to make this person make an appointment, but I don't have an appointment card on the outside of my office door that says come back in a half hour."
Yeah.
Right. But the difference is you weren't friends with the C-suite like she was.
It's just really unfortunate, and I think, I don't know about you guys, but like I look at my HR career and like sometimes I really wonder like, why am I doing this? And then I think about those type of employees and it really tugs on my heart. I look at employees who like need help with their benefit enrollment and don't understand. And they have to fill it out. They have to sign up. But telling them like it's your responsibility to do this, this and that, I could understand the need to be a little bit more flexible in a situation like that, and have that empathy, like you said earlier, for certain individuals. Now, do people take advantage of it? Yes. Can you tell? Absolutely.
But let me ask you this, because it's something that I'll ask you the question and I'll explain. So, do you think working in HR has made you trust people more or less? Because for me, I don't trust anybody. It's really hard for me to build trust with people. And my follow-up question to that is, has working in HR ever changed how you handle relationships or conflicts in your personal life? And I think it boils down because yes, I do want to help people, and especially those who like can't handle their benefits, but at the same time I feel like there's a lot that goes on that we have to deal with where it's like that trust that you just want to have for people is not there. Like especially for me, like when people come to me and they're like, "Hey, this is going on," blah blah blah. I very good at reading people, but I just don't trust what they're telling me is true, and that's just who I am. And then I go out in my personal life and I'm like, is this true? Or, I'm going to handle, and I'm guilty of this. I've handled situations like with my wife as like an HR like complaint or like something. And I'm like, well, you just need to do this. And like, it's trickled into my personal life. Right.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest aspect that I don't like about myself is that trust. I don't trust people. I don't open up to people. I mean, you guys know that I'm a very closed off person, and I'm not going to sit there and be like, "Hey, Ashley, Cara, like blah, 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 blah." I'm not going to tell you everything because I don't trust that you're not going to go to leadership. Right. But I think when we became friends, I trusted you and we did that. But I think there's so much in my mind that I just now don't trust anybody. It sucks, honestly. And it's probably the worst part about working in HR for me. So I'm very curious to know how you guys feel about that.
I agree with you or feel the same way as you. I don't trust as openly as I used to. You know, obviously when you're younger, you don't necessarily have the scars of trusting someone and getting burnt, you know what I mean? And then being in the HR role for as long as I was, people come to you and they
Right.
share with you things that you don't necessarily want to know. You know what I mean? And you're just kind of sitting there going, whoa, all right, we crossed a line. I don't need to know anymore. But I don't trust openly like I did in the past. And with my personal life, I think and feel as if it's made me a better listener. Like if my husband comes home and he's complaining about work or he's complaining about this associate or that associate, I listen, but then I'm very quick to put on my HR hat and
Right.
say, this is what you should do to hold that person accountable, or this is what you should be telling,
Right.
this person. And he, of course, has an HR in his building, but they don't necessarily have the length of experience that I do. So I will
Right.
give him, and he doesn't want me to fix his issue. He just wants me to listen to him. But I
Yeah.
always, have that HR hat on to
Yeah.
tell him, hey, this is what you should do and this is how you should fix it.
Right.
And then he just walks away.
It's like that too. Like, here's what you should do from an HR perspective. But like, I think like a lot of times they're like, validate my feelings in this. And I'm just not going to do that because my HR brain is on and you really can't like feed into people's emotions. And so there are times where I'll catch myself and I'm like, you're a husband. You're not an HR director right now. Like that, I'll catch myself doing that. And it does suck, but I think we talked about it last week. Like, luckily I have somebody who like understands me and can call me out on my bullshit and say like, hey, like you answer that very HR. And I'm like, I have to go back and apologize. But I think it sucks too, because you mentioned like getting burned. Like if somebody comes to you and complains and says all this stuff and you're handling a situation and you handle it 100%, like say you fix the problem and something happens, they're going to throw you under the bus so quick to leadership. And they're just gonna be like, well, they did that. Like I told Cara, she handled it. She said she did at least.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. So like that barrier again of trust is gone because now they're burning you and you're like, I've done everything I can for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What is your 2 cents, Ashley?
I'm going to use the typical HR response, and that is it depends. Because I don't think I'm completely like closed off. When people come to me for things, like I mean it just honestly depends on the employee. I always try and remember that when I wasn't in HR and I had to go to those departments to ask those vulnerable questions, it's kind of scary, because you also like, are you the right person I talk to about this? Or is this even the right place I'm supposed to go? Or, things like that. But there have been employees that have burned me too. I mean, there was one time I had a girl come into my office and sit down and she just started crying, and I'm not the business partner, who usually handles those kinds of things. And I looked at her and I said, I know that you're having a hard time right now. And I got up and I got the tissues, and she's like, I just need a minute to like collect my thoughts. She was like flustered and like something had just happened. And so, in that moment, it's hard to be like you would, just like very like monotone and like waiting. And it's also hard to not want to be emotional for that person, because I'm someone that I think I tend to be nurturing towards others. And so, it's really hard for me sometimes in HR in those situations And I do check myself because I'm like, okay, what is the situation? What's the environment? What's going on? You know, you kind of have to do like a mental checklist of, you know, yourself. But I remember like the first thing I did was just comfort her, you know, and just make sure that she was okay. And then once she kind of calmed down, you know, because I've also been in those situations too where like something really upsets you and you need a minute, and you don't want the person that you're coming to feel like you're wasting their time. But I feel like you kind of have to push that aside because obviously they're having a hard time. And so as soon as she like collected herself, I said, obviously something happened. I said, do I need to document it? And I had my notebook ready because that right there lets them know, okay, is it serious or is it not serious? Or, you know, is it just something happened personally and I needed a moment to come and just sit here, you know, with this person. But honestly, it just depends. It depends on the employee for sure. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great.
I think
Next
it
one.
does.
Let's shift. Cara, what is one of the craziest things that we got away with?
Ooh.
In your
With
mind,
the three of us working together.
there's so many.
Please make sure it's not going to get us in trouble.
We don't work there anymore.
Still.
One of the that the three of us did together?
Yes.
Yeah, that we got away with that you don't think you could get away with at another
Well, there was
employer.
You guys mentioned it on your last podcast, but we were going to go see The Nun 2 in the theater, and me and Jake had never seen The Nun 1, so we
Nun
watched
1.
it. Yeah, or the first one. Sorry.
None one.
None
Yeah,
one.
Nun 1. So we watched it on our phones. I feel like you and I did a lot more once Jake left. I remember just starting there, and we were going to the break room or maybe going down to the orientation room, and we walked by the time clock, and either you or Jake noticed that we had lost internet connection, so we weren't going to be able to work for like the rest of the day or until the internet came back up. And I remember you guys like cheering in the hallway because you're like, yes, we no longer have to do anything, because we couldn't. Everything that we did was on our computers. So that happened. I remember once we were decorating our Christmas tree.
Oh, gosh. Wait, I think you need to explain the Christmas tree so these people aren't misunderstood.
So for Christmas that year, we decided to steal, well, we didn't really steal it. We borrowed it from the quality department. They had a Christmas tree stuck under one of their desks, and we went and asked one of the guys if we could borrow it to spread our Christmas cheer. And so we took it and we put it up in, at first it was in your office, and we decorated it with.
Wait, how tall? It was not tall,
It was
guys.
like a foot and a half.
It's like
if
a
that. It
desk
looked like
tree.
it looked like a Grinch tree.
Yeah,
and we
first.
decorated it with little like
Ornaments.
business cards and something random.
Yep.
And we decided, oh, well, it needed a Christmas chain, you know, like the ones you would make back in grade school that were red and green from construction paper. But we didn't have any construction paper.
remember now, I
So we were like coloring these, and then we were cutting
No.
them up.
You know what we did? Is I opened Word and I just made my
Right.
Word document green and then red and then
That's
printed it. And then you
Agreed.
cut them in the little strips.
Yeah. And then we taped them together, and we were creating this masterpiece, and our director walked in, and he was like, I'm glad you guys are putting good use to of your time here, or something like that. And we're like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Do you
Taking a break.
Do you think he was so like flexible with us because he was kind of feeling the same way?
I think he was extremely flexible with us because he knew we got our work done, and we would always back him.
Yeah.
like 100%. So if there was an audit or if something went sideways in the department, he
Yeah.
knew he could count on the three of us
Right.
and we would be there for him 100%.
Yeah.
The rest of the team would have been like, it's 5, I'm out.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say too, like, I think he didn't care about us, but there were people at the other hospital that were on committees and doing all this stuff, like volunteering in places, and they had none of their work done. And he almost treated them the same way, but I think in his mind, and correct me if you guys think I'm wrong, he just was like, I can't even deal with that because I'm dealing with a million other things. Like, at least I know this hospital is good. That hospital, I just can't deal with them.
I think that's true because with our location, if we let things slip, like the other location, the managers and they would have been really loud about it. I mean, they were loud about things already, but more so.
Yeah.
Like people would have started losing jobs and it would have just gotten way worse than it already was.
Well, the great thing about him was that he was very lenient in certain ways,
Yeah.
but when you needed him, you know, he would back you up. And I feel like he was torn a million different directions. There's no way that position shouldn't have 2 assistants,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
to help him with his workload. There was,
Well, the crazy thing is, I think he got that way after they decided that we're going to get rid of the manager of HR and just have the director. I don't know. That's where I saw things kind of went south for him because now he's doing everything. But in the same token, like we had somebody we could go to, he would back us.
yeah.
But
There's never going to be a job like that ever again. But you know what I was thinking the other day is that I would go back there. I mean, I would go back if leadership was different and the team was a little bit better because I liked the work I did there. I really did.
I actually have tried to go back a few times,
Oh yeah.
but I don't think I'll ever go back because of the vice president of HR. She's a great person.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to send her an email. Do you remember this? When she called me out to our CFO, she said to the CFO that because I was doing payroll at the time, that I was telling her that all the accounting team was getting in my way and slowing me down for payroll, which I never said. And so the CFO came over to my office and was like, hey, did you say this? And I was like, I would never say that. Like, I would come to you first before I said that. And I was weirdly friends with a controller who I didn't really know. But I think that happened. And then I had to send this email. Like, I literally called her out for it. She never responded. But after that, I like never heard from her. And she controls a lot at the hospital still, which is unfortunate. I don't think she wants me back there.
That's extremely unprofessional that she never even responded to your email.
No, and I have the email, so if you want me to read it to you, I will.
Oh goodness. That was one thing that was really hard for me to really understand, and I still don't understand it, is the politics. Because all of these things could be solved if they just had the right leaders in these positions. But because it's so political, it's not like that. That's why there's all these managers who micromanage and don't hold anybody on their team accountable and can't delegate tasks or delegate too much of their tasks and aren't doing anything. It could all be solved if the right leaders were in there. Mm-hmm. It's just, that's what makes it horrible, is that they allow it to be like that. And I mean, it's easy, like just go put the right person in that role, like it's cool. But that's not how it works.
Right.
And someone told me one time, like, you have to play the game, but I don't want to play the game.
I think I told you that.
Maybe.
It's a game.
Why does there have to be a game? Like, I don't want to play it. I want to come to work. I want to do my job really well. I want to be able to trust my coworkers. I want to be able to serve the employees like we're supposed to do, and also serve the company that we work for. But the leaders aren't being leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think I played the game too hard.
I remember when you and the COO used to like chalk it up in the hallway.
We were bros.
Like bro talk. It would just make me throw up in my mouth a little bit.
That's what I mean. I think I played the game too hard.
Yeah.
And even the CEO at the other hospital played the game a little too hard. Got a little too close. Got her fired.
What was it like for you having that meeting with?
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I of course went down. I you're talking about the last podcast and you guys saying that I'm fierce, and I don't know if I'm necessarily fierce or fearless. I just, being basically raised in a retail environment and being surrounded by managers all day and dealing with the public, you build a certain armor where you're just kind of like, I'm human just like you are.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to have an open and honest conversation with you, and you can either accept what I have to say and listen to somebody who brings value to your team, or you can just chalk it up to, hey, we're going to lose this person, and hopefully the rest of the HR team can pick up the pieces. You know what I mean? And so I went down there, asked Lisa if he had any openings. Of course, his office was right across the way. So he said, hey, I got 10 minutes now. You know, I'll talk to you now. And so I just went in, I spoke to him and told him my thoughts and feelings about you choosing to leave. And I, basically said, your team is going to falter if you let her go. And he was like, okay, well, let me talk to Brian. And that was it. I left. And I think the only person I told was Jake.
Really?
At the time.
I do remember that, and I was like, oh,
That's
let's see if
But
anything comes of it. But nothing ever did.
It's kind of like the same thing when you guys were talking about the lady from the C-suite that came down and ripped us a new one for the other side of the HR offices being locked, and then our coworker coming back from lunch and us telling her about it, and me being fired up about it and being upset at the fact that she didn't even know me. She had never even introduced herself to me.
And just talk
And talked to me like I wasn't worth the dirt under her feet. You know what I mean? And I'm like, first of all, you're, in my eyes, a member of management. And you're going to come in here and you're going to talk to your employees like that. And then you still expect me to do my job to the best of my ability and look up to you? No, I'm not going to do that. And our coworker was like, well, she's the CNO. I don't give a shit who she is. I don't care. I put on my pants the exact same way she does. And she shouldn't talk to people like that, especially on our HR team, unless she wants to talk to her employees like that.
Yeah.
It just gives you a poor taste in your mouth of, wow, I don't know why you think you can speak to your employees like that. I mean, that was like one of the first things you learn in customer service is to treat everybody as individuals.
You can really tell, I think, with her that she really did not care about us because it trickled down, and her directors were the worst people to
They
HR.
acted the same way.
Right.
To
And she
HR.
let it happen. And so it you can tell just from the way she acted, that's how she would be. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess thinking about the hospital too, I think we had a lot of fun times together in the hospital. But I honestly, like, my favorite one is just like the amount of breaks we took to go get snacks or to just like do random things. Like, I think in
Hang posters.
well, yeah. One of my favorites though is actually like we when we were going to, we were like, let's make shirts. And so we bought some thermal paper to like, make these shirts. And then we figured out our printer isn't going to work for this. And I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go to a Walmart and buy a printer and then return the printer after we had printed all these things. And then we were like, screw this. Let's go to JCPenney and get
gosh.
pictures taken. And then we created a whole photo album of just the three of us with our boss's face on these shirts. But we did so many things, I think, that like they were such good memories. Like I would love to go back and do those things because I think those in my mind outweigh like all the shit we had to deal with and put up with because we all like we had each other. But we really did. I think we were like close, and our boss, we had him too. So we pulled pranks on him and just had a good time.
Do you remember for his birthday when we met up at the hospital and we used our badges to get into his office and we birthday wrapped everything that was in his office?
It was like late at night. Yes.
We got his calculator, his stapler.
I remember when you guys, okay, so you started in May and my birthday was in August. And I had left out of town for something, for a birthday trip. And I came back and you had decorated my door. And literally, like, I think you decorated my office too.
We did.
And you filled up my snack drawer. And I just remember telling Daniel, like, she doesn't even know me like that. And she was so kind to do this. And that is you. It's just been a real blessing being able to work with you, for sure.
Thanks.
Not Jake, just you.
I learned a lot, actually, working with both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question. Do you have any advice for Jake and I?
When it comes to what?
I think just because we're still in the HR realm of things, you know? I mean, you've worked with us, and is there any advice you have for, like, me just in my career and Jake?
I think that you need to find your niche, the thing that makes you happy. Mm-hmm. And then once you find that, because since I've known you, right, you've done HR generalist, and then you went into payroll, and then you are now doing recruiting, and each new hat you put on, you're super excited about it in the beginning, and you're ready to try something new and you're ready to try something different. But then after you've been into it for a little while, you decide that that isn't what you want to do or what makes you happy or what drives you. And ever since I've known you, you've always wanted to know more or learn more and, just be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. And what I want for you is I want you to find what makes you tick.
Yeah.
Whether it's not in HR, maybe it's, doing something entirely different.
Yeah.
Like going back to manufacturing and being an HR there, or, choosing an entirely different field.
Yeah.
Going back to school. And I mean, look, you took the SHRM and you passed it. And the very first time that you took it, you made time to study. I mean, so I know you got it. You got the smarts. You can do anything you want to do. Mm-hmm. You just got to figure out what it is that drives you.
Yeah.
And get you to that point to where you don't want to find a new job in 2 months or 3 months or, I want you to be like, yeah, I worked for them for 25 years and I was happy. There's obviously going to be a career that you choose that's going to have it ups and downs, you know what I mean? But you still look forward to going there every day like I did when I worked in retail.
Yeah.
For those 25 years.
Thank you. I think I agree with you. I do need to find it because ever since I left that job, I am like just so quick to be turned off with something. And I look back and I'm like, how did I stay there for 3.5 years?
It's the people.
And it is the people. I just don't think I'm clicking, or I'm getting like bored with it.
I think you got to give it time too. Like when I started there, it took a good 6 months before I felt like I was starting to fit in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it took just as long when I left there and went to the county. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't fit in with these girls. And these girls are judgy.
My heart hurt for you.
You know what I mean? And I would text you and I'd be like, I don't
Yeah.
fit in here. I don't get along with these girls.
Well, and
And
then they were bullying you a little bit. And,
Yeah.
I offered to slash tires, but you just always politely declined.
so it's different when you start something new and you're, doing something different. But I want you to find what makes you happy.
Yeah. Thank you.
And for Jake, I don't know. I think he's got a good path. I don't necessarily know him as well as I know you, and so I feel like he likes what he does. In a sense.
Oh, well, he got it easy. All right. End of the podcast, guys. Thanks.
Sorry, Jake.
Not. It's fine.
What's up?
You the best.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on and hanging out with us for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It
was
no
fun.
problem.
Lots of content.
Yeah.
All right. You did great, Cara.
Thanks.
You did great. I know you're nervous.
I was nervous at the
You're
very
like-
beginning. Now it's just like talking to you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all it is. It's so chill. Would you come back?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll
If
make
Jake
sure.
would have me.
All right, guys.
See you next week.
Hope you enjoyed.
Next time.
Bye.
Bye.